Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the OCP, the original Copycats podcast. So, we are nearly at the end now, people. This is, I'm glad. I'm sure you're glad. Doris the cow is glad. That's how glad everyone is. I'm sure you're glad that you're going to have a bit of a break from my voice. Well, until the Christmas special is over and done with, obviously, which I am buzzing for you guys to hear. It was amazing, which is all I'll say for now. Hopefully yesterday's episode was good. I certainly enjoyed it. Although I made quite a lot of mistakes. So maybe this audiobook thing isn't such a good idea. Anyway, let's go. Let's get into the second from last episode of The Yule Lads. Today was the 23rd of December. It was so close to Christmas Day that excitement was in the air. You felt the tingle of anticipation as you waited for the special day. Tonight was a special night also. Your grandparents were coming to visit, and your mother had been preparing a rather luxurious feast for them. There was lamb, vegetables, lamb, to be honest it was just lamb, but it looked bloody good. There was a knock at the door. "I'll get it," you said, making your way towards it. As you opened it, you were met with the sight of your grandparents, who beamed at you. It was always nice to see them, especially around Christmas time when they were particularly affectionate. You usher them inside out of the cold and welcome them into the living room. You take their coats and hang them up in the hallway. The snow from them trailed onto the carpet below. You join them in the living room and sit yourself down in a chair. You chat with them until the food is done. The oven beeps from the kitchen and your father, who had joined you, gets up to sort out the food. You all gather around the table to have a seat. The food looks magnificent. The vegetables were steaming and the lamb was cooked to perfection. Suddenly you're asked a question by your grandmother. "So, what's been happening lately?" A simple question, but one that required a lot of thought. You glanced towards your mother, who looked up from her plate. She looked towards your father, who didn't say anything, but just looked at his peas. "Nothing much," you say, playing with a carrot on your plate. "Nothing?" your grandmother says in shock. "We've not seen you in weeks, and you're telling me that nothing has happened?" "Nothing interesting," you lied. You couldn't tell her the truth after all. You would seem crazy. She replied. "The kids of today. You know, back in my day, we could talk for hours about anything. Now it's all about the new fandangled technology. What's the latest one? Tic-tac or chew-yube?" There was an awkward silence as no one really knew what to say. Your mother broke the silence with a request. "I'd like to raise a toast. To family at Christmas." Everyone raised their glasses and clinked them together. "To family," they said. As you all put them down again, you noticed something. The meat was moving. You squinted at it in confusion. You weren't the only one to notice either. Your grandfather, who had gone to grab some with his fork, had missed a plate when it suddenly shifted a few inches to the left. "What on earth? Are you sure you cooked this? It's still got a life of its own," he said with a slight nervous chuckle. You noticed that it wasn't moving of its own accord, though. It was being pulled by a large meat hook. You followed the shaft of the meat hook all the way back to the end of the table, and lo and behold, there was another Yule lad, trying to grab the meat from the table. "Aha!" you say, launching up from your chair and grabbing his wrist. "Gotcha!" Your grandmother screamed. For a split second you'd forgotten they were there, and that they might not have seen one of these things before. "What is that?" your grandmother asks in shock, sitting as far back in her chair as physically possible, almost falling out of it. Relax, Mum, your mother sighs. It's a Yule lad. And that is? A pain in the ass, you reply. Next thing you know, the Yule lad, who had been squirming around trying to break free of your grip, had done just that and mounted the table. It started picking up the random plates and pots, holding the leftover vegetables, and began to hurl them in every direction. You all took cover as it made a break for the lamb in the center of the table. It grabbed it and used his meat hook to swing from the chandelier above the table. He landed by the kitchen door and made a break for it. You hear the front door slam. You all look around for a second at each other. Nothing much, eh? How about you talk about that the next time we ask, your grandmother says. Your grandfather gets up and heads out of the kitchen. You hear the front door slam once again. You all sit in silence as you're unsure of where he went, or why. A few minutes later, he comes in, panting and clutching at his chest. In the other hand was the plate of lamb. What? He says. I'm hungry. So this guy was Meat Hook, a very hungry lad that has a particular taste for lamb. He originally used to put his hook down chimneys and grab the meat from underneath, but that has changed now due to the fact that not many people have chimneys, and now he just steals stuff from tables. I'm not really sure how he gets away with it, to be honest, unless he's an absolute beast. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Another slightly shorter one, but I mean, what more can I say about a guy called Meat Hook that steals meat with a hook? There we go. See you tomorrow for the final Yule lad and some honourable mentions. See ya. Hopefully yesterday's episode was good. I enjoyed it, although I did make a lot of mistakes, and I made so many. It was nuts. Maybe the audiobook thing isn't quite. You felt the tingle of it. Your grandparents were coming to visit, and your mother had been prepared. Your grandparents were coming to visit, and your mother had been prepared. Why do I struggle so much with certain things? There was lamb. What was that? As you opened it, you were met with the sight of your grandparents. It was always nice to see them, especially around Christmas time, when they were particularly affectionate, I was going to say. You followed the shaft